Morning, everybody. Matthew Dixon again here from eBay.io Crypto Ratings. I'm the original founder, and I'm pleased to join you again today on 3.0 TV to bring you the latest traders report. So markets are still pretty much in treading water mode. They're very much in consolidation mode, as we can see here, looking at the Bitcoin chart. So we've had that wave three up to the all-time high, and then a consolidation down. So I think this is really because there's no particular major news coming out at the moment. We're waiting for CPI news out of America next week. That will give us a major indication on where we're going with inflation. That could give us some direction in the markets. So right now, rather than try to identify particular drivers, we'll look forward to the main drivers that are pushing the crypto market, hopefully much higher in the near future. Hopefully for a new all-time high for Bitcoin soon to come. So obviously we've got the US regulatory reforms. The Trump administration has proposed a fit-for-purpose crypto framework, and it's shifting oversight of spot crypto markets like Bitcoin and Ethereum to the CFTC. And at the same time, the SEC is launching Project Crypto, which is aimed at making digital asset compliance more flexible, particularly around DeFi and token issuance and capital formation. So these reforms are basically intended to remove legal uncertainty, and it could open the way to greater institutional investment, which is, of course, what we want. We've had that retail phase where Bitcoin went from 0 to 69,000. I think we're now in what I call the institutional phase, where after the big fall to the FTX low of 15,500, we entered the institutional phase with the ETF regulation, the new ETFs at the beginning of the year, and the great institutional adoption, which I think is driving the next price highs that we're going to see. I do think we're going to see new Bitcoin and many other altcoin all-time highs. But there has been a shift. There's a lot more interest in Bitcoin because it's now being recognized institutionally as a store of value. And it's really where a lot of the capital has flowed to. So this is why I don't think we've seen the main thrust with altcoins as yet, but we still may get a decent run to come in the near future. I mean, we've got the Fed interest rate meeting coming soon. When it comes to that, I think that we are expecting now pretty well a definite drop in rates. We've got the UK interest rate decision today. They're widely expected to drop rates from 4.25% to 4%. So the UK is not of major importance these days, but just shows what's happening with interest rates worldwide. That in general, rates are dropping. There's a few exceptions, particularly Japan is a notable exception, where they're raising rates to tackle inflation. But as I say, UK are expected to drop today. And then the US on the next meeting, there's now a 95% chance they're going to cut rates at the next meeting. So what normally happens is we get basically a buy the rumor, sell the news effect. So people will be buying the rumor. In other words, this is good news for risk assets like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So I think as we approach that rate cut decision, people will be buying the rumor. In other words, buying the good news. And I think that we're going to see an uptick in crypto prices. I do think we're going to see new all-time highs soon for Bitcoin. But when the news comes, we could well see a sell, buy the rumor, sell the news effect. So when the news actually comes out, people often then take profits because the news is already out. It was anticipated. Prices moved up on that anticipation, and now they're going to move down again. So right now, I am expecting higher prices. I can't tell you for certain that this correction is definitely over. I mean, looking at Bitcoin here, from the low point there, or from the high point, we've had basically some kind of ABC correction to the downside. I think that we're moving up, but if we're moving up, has to be what's counted as a 1-2, then a smaller fractal 1-2 again. So that's what's called nesting in Elliott wave terms. So 1-2, 1-2, 3, 4, 5, and so on higher. The alternative is it could actually just be an ABC in the making, and we could still have another low to come. So I've got a line in the sand of around the 110,500 for Bitcoin. I don't want it to breach that. That would be a major change in the outlook. So for now, the 100% extension of this move down here, projected to the B wave and measured downwards here, will give us 111,148. So I still hold that out as a possibility of another dip. I'm not saying it will. So every time there's a dip, I look to buy those dips. So I don't put all my eggs in one basket buying at one time. I look to buy dips and try to take advantage if there's a dip in price. I don't chase prices higher. So I bought the dip down here, and if it dips again, I'll look to buy again with another little portion of my portfolio, with the anticipation that this is just a correction, and it very much looks like a correction. This movement up has definitely overlapped this movement down, so it looks corrective. So I'm confident we're going to see new highs, new all-time highs for Bitcoin to come. So buying the dips, I think, is a good strategy. Basically, it's dollar cost average strategy. US regulators appear to be easing enforcement pressures on major crypto firms like Coinbase and Kraken, and large banks are continuing to expand stablecoin and digital asset services. So, this growing normalization of crypto in traditional finance could improve investor confidence and adoption. So, I do think there's a lot of positive news in the background. It's a positive environment for crypto. So, as I say, this corrective phase that we're in at the moment is actually, for me, an amazing and wonderful opportunity to, as I say, buy dips and potentially ride the market higher. I think Ethereum is very much in the same boat, that we could potentially, and I think it's looking more with Ethereum as though we potentially have already a five-wave move up. We could be working on a bit of a correction sideways. We may have already completed it. I do think there's new highs to come, towards this local high here, to basically challenge and possibly take out this 4001, 4002 area on Ethereum. So I'm bullish on Ethereum as well. Solana has had a really nice little bounce. I think we potentially again had five waves up, correction, three waves down, or it could be A, B further down to complete the correction before we move higher again. So I am not certain the correction's complete, but as I say, I am looking to buy dips every time I see a dip. We had a buy zone here between the 0.786 and the 100% extension. We're right back up, pressing towards the top of that buy zone. That means for me, I'm now back in profit with my trades. I didn't hit stop losses, didn't hit any invalidation at the low point here. So I was collecting and buying dips every time we dipped into this buy zone area. So I dollar cost averaged across the buy zone area. We're now approaching the top, so it means my profits, my trades are in profit. So if we get above the buy zone area, I would then look to put a stop loss protection in place somewhere within this buy zone to guarantee a profit no matter what happens. And I do expect Solana as well to push above recent local highs. The recent local high, of course, the all-time high was $295 roundabout. The recent local high was $206. I think we've had what looks like an A, B, C correction to the downside. Looks pretty clear to me. And I think we're beginning in the early stages of another impulse to the upside to take out that 206 local high and push quite a bit higher. So I'm really encouraged there. I'm really encouraged also with XRP. Again, we appear to have completed a correction down. I've got this labeled as WXY. It's very similar to ABC, but it's what's called a double correction. It's basically an ABC giving us a W wave, ABC for X wave, and ABC for Y wave. So it's what's called a double correction. So a correction with an X wave connector, then another correction. That's why it's called a double correction. So I think that we moved nicely and impulsively to the upside here. I think that we've had a little correction here, and I think we'll continue to move nicely towards the upside. We should get some really good impulsive movement soon, I think, on XRP. And there's actually some good news potentially due to come out regarding regulatory hurdles that'll be passed for XRP. Hopefully, some really good news could drive it markedly higher. So, as I say, I've been dollar cost averaging with XRP. I bought a few times, every time buying the dips and waiting for higher prices. I do think, as I say, if I was to scroll out, this looks very clearly like a correction that we've had. And a correction basically in the form of some kind of bull flag. So this is the flagpole. We've got basically a pretty deep bull flag here waving in the wind, but we should push to new highs above that level there, which was 367 or there or thereabouts, somewhere around 366, 367 area. We should push well above that and possibly much higher. So I'm really encouraged there. Same story with Jasmy. Again, we've had a nice impulsive push higher. Looks like a corrective ABC kind of wave down, and I think we'll soon push higher. I did have a line in the sand. We did just dip below that, but again, we're back into that positive territory, into that buy zone territory that I had. So again, I'm encouraged. JSAM has been underperforming a little bit of late, although if you look at the performance this year, it did really well. And I think it's going to do even better in the near future when markets take off again. Same as we go, Algo is doing really nicely. Pepe is doing nicely. ADA, just have a quick check in with the SPX. We had what appears to be an ABC down for the SPX. We're looking as though we're moving impulsively higher again. So I think we'll take out this all-time high. We'll break above this overhead resistance, and that could really open the way for markets higher. We'll just check in finally, I think, with dollar index. This is quite an interesting one. We had this long held parallel channel, which went from right back in the financial crisis 2008-9. We held an upward channel, parallel channel for the dollar index. We hit the bottom of that channel recently back in beginning of July, right at the start of July. And then we moved up quite nicely, but it looks like it's an ABC correction to the upside. And quite interestingly, this final move, I can count here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 waves to the upside. 7 is a corrective number. So that's within this wave. So we have a correction, connector, correction. Looks like possibly a WXY correction to the upside. So I think that being corrective movement upwards, I actually think we're going to break to the downside, break the bottom of this channel. And don't forget, it's held for a long time now, 16 years since the 2009 financial crisis. This channel has held. But I think there's a lot of signs in the background showing that dollar is going to weaken. We're seeing weaker inflation coming out. We're seeing the likelihood of a lowering of interest rates at the next meeting. We're seeing employment figures beginning to fall off a cliff. So I think the US are going to be printing money and going to be lowering interest rates more aggressively. So there'll be less support for the US dollar. So I do think the US dollar is set to fall. Initially, that could be a good sign for risk assets. So that's what I think will drive Bitcoin and the rest higher. But longer term, it may not be such a good story. So we need to watch things as they go. For the time being, I'm bullish. I'm holding on to assets and looking to add at any dips there are. So I hope that was helpful. Hope you have a great weekend ahead and look forward to catching up next week.